Oh, Mrs. John.
I'm ready for the joke.
Yeah, well, you know, before just setting it up here, I was the class clown growing up. I used to tell jokes, do voice impersonations.
Hard to believe.
Yeah, it is kind of hard to believe. Spent a lot of time in the hallway as well. That's how I
just have a question. Does Cheryl get blessed with these jokes as much as I do? Because I feel like I'm always on the show when you choose to share this gift
I think
that God has given you.
When we're having the meeting, deciding the shows, I think you were away that day. So
I picked the short straw.
You were anointed, sister.
I'm ready for the joke.
Okay, you ready for the joke? Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, what did the tree say to Autumn?
I don't know, Greg. What did the tree say to Autumn?
Leave me alone. Leave me alone, yes.
Crickets,
cricket.
silent.
What do I hear?
There's nothing.
Oh, don't quit your day job? Anyway.
Well, despite Greg's humor, we do have a great program in store for you today. Hopefully you haven't switched the dial already. Confessions of an Adopted Parent. I know so many people who have adopted kids. You probably know of some as well. Greg, you probably know of some. Well, Mike Berry will join us shortly with some insights on the struggles of raising adopted children, but also the incredible rewards. Looking forward to that interview.
Hey, and our team recently was in Winkler, Manitoba for the Harvest for Kids Combine Challenge, and they set the Guinness World Record.
Wow.
The previous record, 244 combines. This year, more than 300. Yeehaw!
Wow.
Way to go, guys.
And so we absolutely love what Harvest for Kids have been doing. They've been raising money so that kids all around the world are able to go to camp, especially Christian camps. I know I didn't really have the opportunity to go to a lot of Christian camps growing up, but I know from Ethan, our older son, comes back changed every single time. And
people say it really affected their spiritual journey. You know, while we were there in Winkler, we connected with the Hunter brothers, and to learn more why they believe in Harvest for Kids and about the recent Canadian Country Music Award nominations, here's what they had to say.
What we love about country music is just that it tells a story. It tells, about experiences in life. You can talk about family. You can talk about all sorts of things that resonate with us as a band and what we hold dear. And we just feel like country music, it has elements of gospel woven into its very fibers. And we love the opportunity to be able to perform a style of music that resonates with us on so many different levels.
On the edge of the silhouette sky, yeah, we painted our dreams in the sand. When we shouted forever like we never died, those were the nights.
We truly can say we are best friends. We have done everything together since we were little kids. Dad, I think, was a huge advocate for us boys, just saying, you're stronger together, and we've kind of tried to keep that attitude as we've gone along. We've had bumps along the road, and obviously with being 5 different guys, different personalities, we have our moments of disagreement. But I think we try and look at the bigger picture and just say, hey, if we can stay together and do this together, we'll hopefully be stronger at the end of it. And so it's pretty cool that we can look to the right and to the left and see our best friends, and we're excited for what the future holds.
Whether we're doing music, whether we're playing hockey, whether we're at home farming, we want to live our lives unto the Lord, and we're thankful that we were raised with that heritage. And I think that's what makes an event like this so special. We're singing country music and we love it. We grew up on the farm listening to country music. It resonates with us. We're literally out in the country as we're farming. But for us, getting a chance to be part of an event like this, where we're sending kids to camp to see their lives changed as a result of what Jesus has done, and to have that impacting not just those kids but their friends and their family, is something that we couldn't be more happy about. And we're so thankful for that heritage, and we just desire to glorify God wherever we're at, and the people that we are interacting with. We're thankful for guys like High Valley that have traveled the country road before us, and Paul Brandt that have held that torch high, and this is something that's really important to us.
God's hand is in everything. I think He has a plan set out for everybody, for us, and you know what? This has been in His plan along the way, and He's going to use it in a very powerful way. We believe that God allows you and gives you opportunities for reasons, and we desperately want to do what's right, and we want to honor Him in whatever we do going forward.
I know no matter where I go, I keep my heart
are just so excited and thrilled and very humbled at the fact that we were able to be nominated for 3 different awards this year.
This song, Born and Raised, is a song that resonates with us on multiple levels. The video for the song was actually recorded in Mom and Dad's backyard with our hometown. Hometown of Shaunavon was about 1,800 people, and there were about 1,200 people there that night. The song as a whole talks about growing up on the farm, mud on your boots. It's a country music song which resonates with us. It talks about the church that we grew up in, and so it's a song that we are very proud of.
I hear the sound of a gravel road. I feel the wheels of a Detroit steel taking me home. I see the house just up ahead. Same true one, my daddy's son will lie awake in bed and dream myself to sleep and pray my soul to keep. Head dirt, white church, blue collar, still running through my veins. I was born small town, deep roots, mud on these boots. I wouldn't change a thing. It's how I was born and raised. Born and raised. I'll never leave this little town. The family, the memories, the roots that I put down. Know who I am, ain't gonna change. Might find a brand new melody, but the song remains the same. I'm proud of where I'm from, yeah, we're the lucky ones. Red dirt, white church, blue collar, still running through my veins. I was born small town, deep roots, mud on these boots. I wouldn't change a thing. It's how I was born and raised. Born and raised. It's how I was born and raised. Born and raised. It's how I was born and raised. I know the gravel road will always lead me home, somewhere that you didn't stop, points me to where you are. I know the gravel road will always lead me home, somewhere that you didn't stop, points me to where you are. Red dirt, white church, blue collar, still running through my veins. I was born small town, deep roots, mud on these boots. I wouldn't change a thing. It's how I was born and raised. Born and raised. Born and raised. Yeah, it's how I was born and raised. That's why I was born and raised. Born and raised. That's why I was born and raised. I'll never leave this little town.
What a great video. And I just have a feeling that the Hunter brothers' parents are very proud of these young guys. Very talented, great heart for God. And they're up for 3 awards at the Canadian Country Music Awards happening this weekend in Hamilton on Saturday. And if you'd like to find out more, go online. It's going to be a great event. So I'm pulling for the Hunter brothers.
There you go. Also, something that's happening right now, the start of TIFF, the Toronto International Film Festival. That's when Toronto just changes.
Yeah.
You know, the streets get shut down and there are galas. There are going to be 4 gala presentations, 22 special presentations, and more than 47 titles. That's where all of the celebrities come in and just swarm Toronto and get to see some great films that you might not have access to. So we're looking forward to the world coming to Toronto.
And the world does come to Toronto, and the world is in Toronto. Yes. And right across the country, but you talk about different, you know, Winkler, Manitoba to Toronto, Ontario.
Very different.
That's what I love about this country. Well, coming up next, Confessions of an Adoptive Parent. Here's Cheryl to learn more.
His blog, Confessions of an Adoptive Parent, reaches more than 100,000 people around the globe. Mike Berry joins me to talk about the joys and challenges of adoption and foster care. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Well, you are speaking from experience. You have adopted 8 children. You have fostered 23. What has that journey been like?
Well, it's been an adventure. That would be the understatement. It has been something that, if you go back 20 years ago or more, I never would have envisioned it. But now, sitting here with you, I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Yeah, you were really not even into it, right? It's something your wife wanted to do, and you were like, what?
That's true, yeah. Yeah.
So what changed?
Well, you know, the short answer there would be that the Holy Spirit moved my heart, changed my heart, you know, that God changed my heart. But I think the longer story there is that we were surrounded by people who cared for us and invested in us. And back in that day, I was young, I was naive, I was selfish. And I really didn't understand, you know, that there was a bigger picture outside of myself. And so, you know, when Kristen introduced the idea of adoption to me, you know, the story goes that I resisted, because I did. And it wasn't because I was against adoption, it was because I just didn't understand it. I didn't grow up with it. It wasn't the storyline of my family. So one of the things that Kristen did was she leaned into some advice that she was given, and that was, you know, just pray and hope and wait. And at the same time as she was doing that, people were intersecting into my life who were on the adoption journey and who had chosen adoption as their storyline, and that just over a couple of year period changed my heart. And when that baby girl was placed in my arms in April 2002, that was it. Yeah, I never resisted again.
And you know, we go on these journeys with God sometimes, or these challenges before us, still naively. Even when we think we've counted the cost and we've prepared ourselves, it has its unexpected challenges. So tell me about kind of realizing really what you've gotten yourself into.
Well, we realized really quick that this was not the normal parenting journey. You know, we began with a private adoption in 2002. For a couple of years, everything was great. You know, she was a normal baby girl, slept through the night at 3 months. But then we began fostering, and that's where we were introduced to, you know, some of the traumas that children go through. Everything from bouncing from foster home to being drug and alcohol exposed at birth, to going through being in environments where abuse was happening or neglect was happening, and we really didn't understand how those traumas manifest themselves through a child. And that's where it became very interesting and very challenging, because we were ill-equipped. We both grew up in traditional households, so we thought, well, the way we were raised traditionally and the way our children parented us traditionally is how we need to parent. And anybody who's on the foster adoptive journey knows really quick that traditional parenting methods do not work when you're parenting children from places of trauma.
And you know, you had such a supportive community as well, and you intentionally reached out, especially to other people on that same journey. How key is it to have people who kind of get what you're going through? Oh, it's critical. In fact, in a lot of our resources that we produce for foster adoptive parents, we say, that's one of the first things we say, is you need a support system. You need to surround yourself with people who understand what you're going through, who get it. And 9 times out of 10, those are fellow foster and adoptive parents. You know, and it's critical. People can be judgmental, right? Like they can
completely, yeah.
Why is your child behaving like that? You're a bad parent. All these judgments.
Yes, yes. We'll look at it this way. The vast majority of the world does not understand. You know, you talk to somebody on the street and say, have you ever heard of adoption or foster care? And they'll say, yes, I have. But most people don't understand either why a person would choose to adopt or foster, or what the ins and outs of foster care and adoption are. And so, yeah, we dealt with judgment. We dealt with criticism. Unfortunately, we dealt with that in our own church community, and they didn't mean it. It wasn't. It wasn't like they meant to do that. It's just that there's a big misunderstanding. So that's why people who get it, who are non-judgmental, who can listen to, you know, one of the important things is who can listen to everything you're going through, all the trials you're going through with your kiddos, and love you and still love your kid is critical. And those are the people that we have in our inner circle.
You're so blessed to have that. Well, we're going to continue this conversation. We talked about kids with trauma and the effect that has. We're going to talk about what that looks like and how you can help heal it.
Still to come on 100 Huntley Street.
When you're talking about a child who's come from abuse or neglect or has been exposed to substance prenatal, you know, it comes out in behaviors and aggression and defiance and all the above.
I wanted to know who I was, why I was alive, and most importantly, what the future held for me.
It's a journey that I think all of us walk through on some level or another.
I think there's something in us that cries out and says, actually, no, there has to be something more.
What's right and what's wrong?
It was a 180-degree shift for me.
There was unspeakable peace in my heart.
I had a whole new set of values that began to impact my life and make me think about the direction I ought to go.
I couldn't think of anything worth seeking for in life more than that.
More than 30,000 children in this country are waiting for forever families. We're continuing the conversation with Mike Berry about his adoption and foster journey. You know, we talk about these kids that are waiting for a family that will take them in. You've taken in, as we said, 8 kids adopted, 23 fostered. You also dealt with a lot of trauma when you took them in, though. None of your own making, just the situations that they came from. How does that manifest, then, as you're trying to parent? How do you see that?
Well, it manifests itself initially through behavior. A lot of what I would deem out-of-control behavior. A lot of chaos. The term that we use in the foster adoptive community is dysregulation. And that's dysregulation with the child, but then also dysregulation throughout the home, but then also it brings about secondary trauma, which is what either biological children or children permanently a part of your home will experience because of the behavior of another of the child you're caring for.
So is that oppositional behavior, like yelling at you, pushing you away, violence potentially against you or your kids?
Yeah, all of the above.
Running away,
yeah.
Run-ins with the police. You've had the police show up at your door many times.
We have, yes. Unfortunately, we know in the town we used to live in, we knew the officers by first name, which yeah, it's like that's not something you want to claim, you know, but
yeah, exactly.
That's a reality. So any foster or adoptive parent listening is probably nodding right, or watching is probably nodding right now because they've experienced that. So it's all of the above. It's oppositional defiance. It's defiant would probably be the number one thing. But then it can be aggression. It can be inability to attach in a healthy way. So, you know, I'm your forever father, and Kristen's your forever mommy, but that child continues to pursue either toxic relationships or they cannot attach in a healthy manner to us as their forever parents. So
because they don't believe you're going to be there.
Exactly, yeah. So trauma, and unfortunately a lot of parents enter this journey and they don't realize that that's how trauma manifests itself. That's how it displays itself. Because we think that in terms of trauma, we think, you know, loss of a loved one or a car accident or, you know, home catches on fire or loss of a job, you know, and those are all trauma. That's all trauma. But when you're talking about a child who's come from abuse or neglect or has been exposed to substance prenatal, you know, it comes out in behaviors and aggression and defiance and all the above.
You give so many tips in your book, Confessions of an Adoptive Parent, about how to deal with these kinds of things. You talk about acceptance, like, so stop kicking against it, saying, hi, I wish this wasn't true. Yeah. This is what it is, accept it. But also, you say there is a way that, as a parent, you can help heal that trauma. So what are some ways that parents can help? Yeah, the first thing that I would say is that, and we talk about this a lot in our trauma-informed coaching that we do, we talk about the importance of connection before correction. Because we have, we tend to, especially those of us who grew up in traditional households, we tend to default to traditional parenting techniques. So timeout, grounding, you know, unfortunately, and we don't advocate for this, but it could be spanking or, you know, anything like related to that. But those would all fall under traditional parenting techniques. But when you're dealing with a child who's come from trauma, those don't work. They don't, because the child already has a disconnect in their brain. They're operating, they're behaving out of a place of survival because of what they've gone through. They've gone through such chronic trauma that they've defaulted to that. So the important thing for parents to understand is that connection always needs to lead out. So before you default to, you know, what's wrong with you? Why are you doing that? First approach the child with, how can I help you? Or help me understand. So you're building a connection, you're building a bridge to the child. The child already looks at you as,
you're disconnected from me. You don't understand me. So to the best of your ability, build that bridge.
That's so good. Well, we're running out of time, just 30 seconds left, but tell me, all these challenges we've just talked about foster adopting, yet at the same time, 30,000 kids are waiting for that forever family.
Yes.
Why should people still consider adoption or fostering, even when it's hard?
Well, you know, because children deserve forever families. Children who may not be able to be reunited with their birth families, their biological families, they need forever homes. And we have lots of resources. We have lots of abilities. And I'm not saying that foster care and adoption is for everybody, but I think everybody can do something. And that may be a calling to foster or adopt, but that also may be a calling to wrap yourself and your resources around those who are doing that. And the short answer there is that children need forever homes. Children need hope. Children need a forever mommy and daddy.
That is so true. I hope some of you are inspired to consider adoption, fostering for the 30,000 kids waiting for a forever family in Canada. The book is Confessions of an Adoptive Parent by Mike Berry. That is available on our e-store. As well, they can go to your blog, right? confessionsofanadoptiveparent.com, and you have tons of information there for people who are in it or interested in going into it.
Yes,
Such
that's
a worthy
correct.
cause. Thank you so much for coming to share your story.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
We'll be right back.
I think September 10th show is going to be one of the most important shows that we have ever, really, when we're talking about Suicide Awareness Day. So please do tune in for a special program. And I want to take this time to minister maybe to some of you who have thought of taking your life, or maybe you have a loved one who has taken their life. God sees you and He loves you and He understands the pain that you're going through. And I know sometimes that can sound just like a pat answer, or it could just sound really, really hollow. But I've been there. I've been in desperation where I've thought of taking my life. And I know that in that time, it was just sitting with God and just being reminded of His goodness, being reminded of the fact that He has a plan and a purpose for my life. I think of Mike Berry, and I think of the struggles that he's going through with his adoptive kids, and the reminder that He gives them every single day that He loves them, that they're in a safe place. Well, God does that even more. He reminds us that we are in a safe place. We're in His arms. So if you are going through a really hard time right now, if thoughts of taking your life are just swarming in your head, would you call our prayer lines? They're not trained counselors, but they love to pray, and they understand the power of praying to God. And sometimes that's what we need. We just need somebody to listen to us. So the phone number is at the bottom of your screen, 1-866-273-4444, or you can email us, prayer@crossroads.ca. Well, today, Ken Shigematsu tackles the importance of rest, an important topic to talk about today as we delve into this book all this month, Survival Guide for the Soul. Let's head over to Lorna to hear more.
Today, we're going to give you one of my favorite tools for staying healthy and fresh in God. Reverend Ken Shigematsu, you're walking us through spiritual practices. Tell us what Sabbath is.
Right. Well, the Hebrew people were first given the Sabbath commandment after they had been slaves in Egypt for 400 years. And so according to Deuteronomy, part of the reason they were given the Sabbath commandment was a reminder that they were no longer slaves, but free people. And when we honor the Sabbath, we are reminded that we're not slaves, that our lives aren't defined just by what we produce, how we perform, but by the simple, glorious fact that we are daughters and sons of God.
When we honor the Sabbath, and it's also one of the commandments, and it comes right out of the Genesis story. We're actually formed in rest, is what you've been writing about.
Right. Human beings were made on the 6th day of creation. Then came the Sabbath day. So the very first full day of creation was a Sabbath day. We were made to rest and then to work from rest.
Okay. So it's pretty hard in a very, okay, how legalistic do I get about this? Because, you know, schedules are changing, jobs are different things, emails, always texting, all of these issues. How religious are you about your Sabbath?
Well, let's remember that the Sabbath was made for human beings, according to Jesus, not human beings for the Sabbath. I'm a working pastor, and so I don't take my Sabbath on a Sunday, but on a Monday. So the principle is 1 in 7, and then to embrace the things that make you come alive. For me, it's spending time with my family, maybe being on the water. For others, it might be listening to gorgeous music, eating their favorite food, or spending time with someone really special.
Do you digital Sabbath?
I do. I completely unplug on the Sabbath from work-related text messages and emails for 24 hours. That closes down.
Wow, and what has that done for you?
That has given me a deep sense of inner rest and joy. And as I said earlier, it reminds me that I have worth not because of what I produce or how I perform, but the simple, glorious fact that I am a cherished son of God.
You give an example in your book of where you didn't prep for a big assignment you had to do. You just trusted that God would put the need in your hand, even though you were going to Sabbath instead of work.
Right.
And I think that's part of this Sabbath exercise, is saying, I can trust that God's a good God. He's going to provide. He'll show up for me in my job and help me, even though maybe I didn't do what I thought I should strive for. Okay, Ken Shigematsu, this is an amazing guide through practices that help your soul thrive. Today it was Sabbath. Read more about it in Ken's great book. Here's how you can get your copy.
I admit I've had a divided heart, and I've struggled between the tension of worldly success and spiritual fulfillment. But I've learned that what keeps us from flourishing in our spiritual lives is the neglect of our inner life of the soul. And I want to show you a fresh perspective in my new book, Survival Guide for the Soul. Through my stories and a wide range of sources, I demonstrate how the gospel lifts this pressure off of our shoulders, restores our desires, and reorders our spiritual lives. I share spiritual practices that will help you attune to God's presence and discover a liberating and countercultural definition of true greatness. Call 100 Huntley Street today with your best ministry gift, and you'll receive a copy of my book, 1-800-265-3100. I pray that this book changes your life.
And we do encourage you to request your own copy of Ken Shigematsu's book, Survival Guide for the Soul, with your best ministry gift. Maggie, when I started to learn that the Lord had given me the Sabbath as a gift, and I started to apply that, I started to feel more energy, and I'd think, you know what, I think he knew what he was doing when he gave us a Sabbath.
So do you observe, you have a day that you just take off, you unplug everything?
I try to do that the best I can. Now I'm just thinking about the cell phone and the emails. Disconnecting digitally, that's my new goal, okay?
Yeah, I think you do see a huge difference when you're able to disconnect and just spend time with God. Yeah. And you see a change in your disposition, you see a change in the way that you interact with people, everything. So I hope that's an encouragement to you today. Thanks again for watching 100 Huntley Street. Bye.
See you next time.
Thank you for your ongoing support of Crossroads, a member of the Canadian Council of Christian Charities. You can write to Crossroads, P.O. Box 5100, Burlington, Ontario, L7R 4M2.
This program sponsored in part by DL Deeks Insurance, home of the Evangelical Group Plan. For quality service and great rates